When God begins to work in a person's life, He guides them not only in what to speak, but also in what not to speak. Many people destroy their own blessings not because the enemy is strong, but because their tongue is uncontrolled. There are certain things that must remain between you and God. When these things are shared carelessly, they lose their power, and the enemy gains a doorway. Today I want to share with you the 5 things God warns us never to reveal carelessly, because these 5 things protect your spiritual life, your destiny, and your relationship with God. When God grants a person a spiritual experience, it is never given casually or without purpose. These moments, whether they come through a quiet whisper in prayer, an unexpected dream, a gentle prompting in the heart, or a powerful inner conviction, carry a weight that is too delicate to be exposed to the noise of the world. Whenever something holy touches your life, you must understand that it is not meant for public display, nor for the approval of people who cannot comprehend its value. Many times, people speak too quickly about the things God shows them, and instead of receiving encouragement, they face mockery, doubt, or misunderstanding. This reaction does not only come from unbelievers. Sometimes even those who love you cannot grasp what God is doing deep within your spirit. When you speak prematurely, the doubts of others can begin to settle in your own heart, weakening the very faith that the experience was meant to strengthen. There are moments when God chooses to shape you in private, away from the voices of the world, so that the revelation remains pure and untouched. If you expose something sacred before it has matured in your spirit, it becomes vulnerable to the negative atmosphere created by critical voices. People may question whether it was truly from God, or they may impose their own interpretations that shift your focus and confuse your understanding. The enemy also watches for opportunities to distort what God reveals, and one of the easiest ways he gains access is when we speak too freely. What is spoken loudly becomes exposed, but what is kept in the quiet place of the heart remains protected. Some experiences are not meant to be explained. They are meant to be lived, prayed over, and nurtured in silence. God may show you something not to share with others, but to draw you deeper into prayer, to correct your heart, or to guide you into a new season. When you treat every encounter like something to broadcast, you lose the intimacy of that moment. Spiritual encounters are like seeds planted in the soil of your heart. They need time, warmth, and stillness to take root. If you dig up a seed too early and show it to everyone, it will never grow. In the same way, if you expose your spiritual experiences too quickly, the life within them is disrupted. God sometimes tests whether He can trust you with deeper revelation by seeing how you handle what He already gave you. Those who rush to speak often lose the depth that could have come through quiet reflection. There is tremendous power in keeping certain things between you and God alone, because it teaches your spirit to rely on Him rather than on the approval or understanding of others. The holiest experiences are often the most misunderstood, simply because they are not meant for human interpretation. When you hold these moments close, they begin to transform you from the inside, giving you strength, clarity, and spiritual confidence that no one can take away. In silence, God completes His work within you. When God places a calling inside a person's heart, it usually comes quietly, like a seed planted in hidden soil. This calling carries destiny, direction, and divine purpose, but in its early form, it is fragile. Sharing it too early exposes it to voices that may not understand what God is doing within you. People often judge based on what they can see, while God speaks based on what He knows about your future. When you express your calling before its time, others may discourage you simply because they cannot imagine you becoming what God has already planned. Their doubts can enter your spirit and create hesitation, confusion, or fear, weakening your confidence in what God told you. The enemy also pays attention to the words you speak. If he hears the direction of your calling, he may try to attack you through circumstances, distractions, or opposition before you are spiritually prepared to handle it. God often keeps your calling hidden because He is still strengthening your character, building your faith, healing your wounds, and preparing your environment. A calling that is shared before spiritual maturity may attract jealousy, criticism, or unnecessary battles. Not everyone around you carries the sensitivity or faith to understand divine assignments. Some may unintentionally redirect you, encourage you to take shortcuts, or push you toward a path that seems easier but leads away from God's perfect design. When Joseph shared his dream too early, it stirred jealousy and conflict, not because the dream was wrong, but because the timing was not right. In the same way, your calling must be protected until God Himself opens the doors that align with it. A divine assignment grows best in silence, prayer, and obedience. As you walk quietly with God, He shapes your mindset, renews your heart, and teaches you to depend on Him alone. If the calling is revealed too soon, you might start relying on people's approval instead of God's guidance. When you wait patiently, God begins to confirm your calling through small steps, subtle opportunities, and inner peace. He aligns the right relationships, the right resources, and the right environment so that when the time comes, the calling emerges with clarity and strength. Silence during the early stages of a calling allows you to hear God more clearly without interference. It gives you room to grow, to learn, and to become the person capable of carrying the responsibility that comes with the assignment. A calling is not just a task, it is a spiritual weight that requires preparation. Many people speak loudly about their calling, but fail to carry the endurance needed for it. Those who nurture it privately gain the strength required to fulfill it. When the calling finally manifests, it becomes undeniable, not because you announced it, but because God revealed it through His timing and power. When a person chooses to do good, whether through generosity, kindness, compassion, or sacrifice, there is a sacred beauty in keeping that goodness hidden from the eyes of the world. Good deeds lose their purity the moment they are performed to impress others, because the heart shifts from serving God to seeking human applause. When an act of kindness becomes a performance, its spiritual value fades, and the blessing attached to it diminishes. God sees not just what you do, but why you do it. He looks deeper than actions. He examines motives. When goodness is done quietly, without the desire for recognition, heaven smiles upon it. But when you speak too quickly about your good deeds, you risk turning them into a tool for attention or admiration. Once people begin to praise you, the desire for approval can subtly take root in your heart, and before you realize it, your generosity becomes a way of feeding your ego instead of glorifying God. Silence protects your sincerity. It keeps your intentions clean and your actions free from pride. The world often teaches that good deeds should be displayed, shared, or announced, but the kingdom of God works differently. True reward comes from what is hidden, not what is broadcasted. The right hand should not know what the left hand gives, because when giving is quiet, it remains pure. Hidden kindness carries a different kind of power. It changes your character, softens your heart, and connects you more deeply with God. It teaches you to serve without expectation and to love without the need for acknowledgement. Many times, the people you help will never know the sacrifice behind your actions. They may not understand the effort, the prayer, or the quiet tears you poured into helping them. But God knows, and His reward is far greater than any human praise. There is also wisdom in keeping your good deeds private. When you speak too openly about the kindness you have shown, it can create jealousy, misunderstandings, or criticism. Some may question your motives, while others may expect more from you than you can offer. Sharing too much invites unnecessary burden and pressure. Good deeds done in silence also protect you from pride. The human heart is naturally drawn to recognition. When people praise you, something inside begins to crave more of it. If you are not careful, you may start doing good for the sake of applause rather than out of obedience or compassion. Silence guards the purity of your heart, keeping your relationship with God uncluttered by ego. Quiet generosity allows God to receive the glory. When He sees that your heart is humble, He trusts you with more opportunities to bless others. Heaven rewards what is done in secret, and those rewards are lasting and transformative. Hidden goodness builds spiritual strength, character, and intimacy with God in ways that public recognition never can. In the quietness of unseen kindness, your heart aligns with God's heart, and your actions carry eternal value. Every person carries weaknesses, areas of struggle, hidden wounds, private battles, and vulnerabilities that are often too delicate for the world to handle. While sharing your burdens with the right people brings healing, sharing them with the wrong people invites harm. Not everyone has the maturity, compassion, or spiritual depth to carry what you reveal. Some will listen only to judge, some will pretend to care while secretly celebrating your difficulties, and some will take your vulnerability and use it against you when the moment suits them. Your weaknesses are not meant for public consumption. They are pieces of your heart that must be handled with wisdom and discernment. When you reveal them to those who lack understanding, you open yourself to wounds that could have been avoided. Trust is a precious thing, and not every person qualifies to receive the fragile parts of your story. There are individuals who appear friendly yet carry gossip in their hearts, turning your pain into their entertainment. Others may offer shallow advice, not knowing that your struggle requires spiritual sensitivity rather than casual opinions. A wrong listener can deepen your pain instead of easing it. Your vulnerability holds spiritual weight, which is why the enemy works hard to place the wrong people around you, hoping to turn your confession into a trap. When you open your heart to the wrong ears, you risk misdirection that leads you away from God's healing process. Discouragement may come from those who cannot see your potential beyond your weakness. They may label you by your struggle instead of seeing the strength God is developing in you. This is why choosing the right person to confide in is not just emotional wisdom, it is spiritual protection. God sends specific people into your life who carry His compassion, discernment, and maturity. These are the ones who can pray with you, lift you up, and speak life into you when you feel weak. They do not expose your struggle to others. They cover you with love and understanding. They know how to guide you gently without judgment, and they stand with you until God turns your weakness into strength. When you share your struggles with the right person, healing begins. When you share them with the wrong person, damage begins. Some moments are meant to be spoken only to God, because He understands you more deeply than any human listener ever could. In His presence, there is no judgment, no misunderstanding, and no betrayal. He hears your heart even when words fail. Learning to guard your vulnerabilities is not a sign of distrust, it is a sign of wisdom. It means you value your emotional and spiritual well-being enough to be selective about who gains access to the fragile parts of your life. When you protect your weaknesses, you protect your growth, your peace, and your journey with God. Silence in certain moments is not hiding. It is safeguarding the work God is doing within you. Plans that are still forming in your heart are like tender shoots just beginning to break through the soil. They are delicate, unsteady, and require a protected environment to grow. When God places a plan inside you, it is often small in the beginning, not fully shaped, and not ready to withstand the pressure of outside voices. Speaking too early about what you intend to do can expose that plan to criticism, jealousy, or spiritual opposition before it has the strength to endure. The moment you reveal your plans, you invite opinions, some well-meaning, some careless, and some harmful. People may doubt your ability, question your direction, or unintentionally plant seeds of fear or hesitation. Their words, even spoken casually, can settle into your spirit and disrupt the confidence that God was building within you. When plans are kept quiet, you give God room to work without interference. Silence allows Him to guide each step, correct your course, and shape your character while the plan is still in its early form. God prepares resources, relationships, and opportunities behind the scenes, and when you speak too soon, you may step ahead of His timing. Premature announcements can also open the door for spiritual attacks. The enemy listens when you speak, and if he hears your direction, he may attempt to create obstacles to weaken your faith. When you hold your plans close, you move under the covering of God's protection. Jealousy is another danger that arises when you share plans too quickly. Not everyone wants to see you succeed. Some may smile on the outside, but compete with you inside their hearts. Others may attempt to imitate your idea, sabotage your progress, or discourage you because they cannot see what God has placed within you. Keeping your plans private shields you from unnecessary expectations. Once you publicly declare what you intend to do, people begin watching, questioning, and evaluating your progress. This pressure can create anxiety, making you feel as though you must prove something to others rather than simply obeying God. Silence gives you the freedom to grow without judgment. Plans develop best in an environment of prayer, reflection, and obedience. When you wait quietly, you allow God to strengthen your character so that you can handle the responsibility attached to the plan. He refines your motives, increases your wisdom, and teaches you to trust Him more deeply. A plan birthed in the presence of God becomes unstoppable when it is released at the right time. But when it is spoken too early, it becomes vulnerable. Quiet preparation helps you remain focused, disciplined, and aligned with God's will. As the plan grows and matures, God will open doors at the perfect moment, confirming your direction and giving you the strength to walk into your assignment with confidence. When the moment comes to reveal the plan, it will not be because you announced it loudly, but because the evidence of God's work in your life will speak for itself. Silence is one of the strongest spiritual protections a person can carry, yet it is often the most overlooked. In moments when God is shaping your destiny, silence becomes a shield that guards the work happening inside you. Not every thought, feeling, or revelation is meant to be spoken. When you speak before God gives you permission, you expose what is still forming to voices that can weaken it. Silence gives God room to finish His work without interference. When you stay quiet, you allow Him to guide your spirit, refine your motives, and strengthen your understanding. Many people lose their blessings because they speak too quickly, revealing things that were meant to stay hidden a little longer. The enemy cannot read your mind, but he listens to your words. The moment you speak carelessly, you give him information to use against you. Silence denies him that access. It protects your direction, your faith, and your spiritual progress. Some people also do not have the maturity to understand what God is doing within you. If you speak before the right time, they may judge, mock, or discourage you without realizing the damage they cause. Silence protects you from unnecessary emotional and spiritual wounds. It also prevents you from seeking validation from others. When you speak too much, you may start depending on people's approval instead of God's guidance. Silence trains your heart to rely on God alone. It helps you hear Him more clearly because your spirit is not distracted by the opinions or expectations of others. There is a deep strength in moving quietly. When you are silent, you walk with intention. You listen more. You observe more. You pray more. This inner stillness becomes a place where God can speak to you without competition from external noise. Many breakthroughs happen in the quiet moments when your heart is calm and focused on Him. Silence is also humility. It shows that you do not need to announce everything you are doing or everything God is doing for you. It shows trust. Trust that God will reveal what needs to be known at the right moment without you forcing anything. This humility becomes a powerful spiritual covering because God lifts those who walk quietly before Him. Silence also protects your peace. When you speak less, you reduce the chances of misunderstanding, conflict, or unnecessary arguments. You keep your heart free from the stress and noise that come from oversharing. A peaceful heart can hear God more clearly, and a peaceful mind can follow His direction with confidence. There is wisdom in knowing when to speak and when to remain silent. Some people waste their strength on explanations that were never required. Others expose their blessings to people who cannot handle them. When you stay silent, you guard what God is building in your life. You keep your spirit focused, your faith strong, and your path clear. Silence is not inactivity. It is preparation. It is alignment. It is a spiritual discipline that protects the treasures God places within you.